overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sick, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight. The power is strong, the vision so clear. Building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rising Tide Talks. I'm Kylene, and this is Erin and Becky. I'm a little thrown off here because I'm not in my normal environment, but welcome, everyone.
Yeah, welcome. So Kylene is on her way out the door to go teach a yoga / stretch class here. And we said, hey, run down here real quick so you can get us started with gratitude. But Becky, can you introduce yourself too, please? Sorry, we got
good. All good. I'm Becky Kutzer, and I believe it takes a village to run a business.
Yeah. And I'm Aaron Montgomery from our success group. And we are here, and Becky and I are going to talk here in just a little bit more about some things we discussed on Small Business Saturday, Kylene and I, and stuff like that. But while we have the gratitude master for 1 minute here, can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, most definitely. So we always like to start with gratitude because gratitude is our superpower. We just have to choose to access it. So when we're in that state of gratitude, when we're truly looking and appreciating the things that we have in our life, we raise our vibration and we start attracting even more good things to us. So we're going to start our Rising Tide Talks tonight in that positive space. So if you guys are listening, please share what you're grateful for today. Erin, do you want to start us off?
Nope, you get to start because you got to get out of here. So I want to make you late.
I am very grateful for the support of Erin and Becky so I can go teach this class here. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share my gift of yoga. And I guess it's a stretch class, not technically a yoga class, but I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to do this.
Yeah. And her gift is not even yoga; it's positive energy. So
yes.
She could do that any which way. Yes. It just happens to be along with some yoga and stretching. So awesome. Thank you, Becky. Do you have anything that shows up for you right away, or we'll see who we've got?
No, I did. What I was thinking about when I were hollering at Kylene to come down was our MOS community having that masterminds. We had masterminds this week, and it just always starts the week off on the right foot. It gets everything kind of reset, and from there, and then along with that was the co-working opportunity that we had yesterday. It just really did kind of focus in, and I told Erin before we started, the last 2 days I've really checked a lot of boxes off. My calendar and my planner don't really look like I did much, but my Trello board is looking lots better. I'm feeling just very much accomplished. That's what I had put in Slack, was just that I was feeling accomplished. So that was, it was good to do that and to keep the ball rolling here, to just keep the momentum going. So
there you go.
Congratulations. Yeah. That's awesome.
And Sandy says, I'm grateful for MOS friends.
Yay. Yes.
Yay. Yes, we are.
Sandy joined us yesterday too. So that was awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you for that. We'll let you get out of here.
Okay.
And
all right. Have a great show, everyone.
Bye. See ya.
All right. So sorry, I'm dropping my pom-poms here. Okay, so I guess I haven't gone yet. So Sandy shared, and let's see here. So we got everybody checking in. So yeah, if you guys have things that you're grateful for, please share that here. I'm not trying to steal, but I definitely am going to have to piggyback with you on MOS. Not only did we have a great call on Monday, you guys did fantastic, and I was like so inspired and ready to do so much. But then the Tuesday group was also just full of support for each other and lots of gratitude. And I think, across the board, all the MOS members, I think our vibration is just really kind of going. And as we've seen in Slack and some of the conversations, like that co-working thing that you put together, Becky, kudos. I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, we need to do these things, but it does take somebody taking action, and you were willing to put that out there and do that. So I'm going to go with grateful for all of MOS, but I'm very grateful for you spearheading the co-working
Yeah.
event there.
And Chandler reached out on there too and asked about anything for like maybe a co-working in the evening for like a 6 o'clock or later. And
Sure.
I thought that was interesting because I've never considered it, but I told her I would be interested, but I would end up doing maybe something around the house or in the house or
Sure.
or maybe a designated me time
There
in
you
that
go.
working time. So yeah,
That's a great idea.
that would totally change the evening around. So I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely a great idea. I'd probably be working, so I was.
And I would say anybody could join us that would want to do that. I try not to work my evenings and try to do stuff in the house, but
Oh yeah, for
it
sure.
would totally keep me from finding the couch and the TV. So
That's the trick, right? If I can get past the TV after dinner, I'm in good shape. But if not, it's a little rough. So, yeah, Chandler says I'm all about it. So let's see what else we got here. We got Barb checking in. Good evening from North Central Minnesota. And let's see here, Chandler. Gonna miss
Right.
Kylie. Yep, we're missing her here for having it. But I don't tell Kylie. No, it's fine. She can hear. But I thought I had a blast last time, Becky. I thought it was really fun to kind of just go back and forth a little bit. Certainly love to hear Kylene's take on this stuff too. Now, once again, we need you guys that are tuned in live right now to be active in the chat there, and so we can dive in to the topic this week. And again, I said this last week. I probably said it every week. We're open to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I don't think there's any off limits topics that I can think of. I mean, obviously within reason, sure. But so but just, whatever shows up for you. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this show is about engaging. It is a rising tide talks, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. So if we're lifting others up, then we are all being lifted up. And so whatever that topic is, but you and I and Kylene, we talked about, okay, well, for right now, let's keep kind of going with this theme of what do we talk about on Small Business Saturdays? Let's talk about that more from a practical aspect. What are you taking away from that, Becky? What are the people that are tuned in taking away from it? So last week or last Saturday, I guess it wasn't last week, it's only 3 days ago. My 4 hours of sleep last night, I couldn't sleep for whatever reason. So I'm a little bit out of it, but we talked about the final of the fundamental formula, which is commitment and growth. And now we've talked a lot in Masters of Success. Heck, we've probably talked about it on here about this idea of marginal gains of we don't have to take these big, massive leaps. It's really actually about creating very small, manageable habits that we can begin building and stacking on top of each other. And just the act of being intentional. There's the word there.
I was going to say that for what showed up for me was really truly just being that intentional steps that need to, move you from point A to point B. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be huge steps. It doesn't have to be large. And sometimes even that step backwards sometimes happens in order to move forward again. So, we don't want to think we failed or lost ground or anything like that. But sometimes we do move backwards just a little bit, and then it takes a little bit of resetting and setting those intentions and getting that commitment back in, and then we move forward again.
Yeah. Well, and I would be so bold as to kind of maybe say, maybe looking at it as going backwards is might be part of the challenge. At least that is for me. So I'm not putting any words or putting anything in your mouth here, but I know for me, when I do get in those kind of ruts where it does feel like I've gone backwards, what's really kind of struck me is that I actually haven't gone backwards. It was most of the time was just necessary, right? That kind of idea of slow down to speed up. You kind of, what am I learning down here in this valley right now, so I can get to the next mountaintop, so to
Yeah.
speak. So, yeah, I think that's really important. Like you said, Becky, that we go, you know what, this is progress. Let go of the judgment, I guess, is the way that what I'm trying to say.
And I think if you are feeling like you're stepping back or you're losing ground, I think it's a matter of realizing it and, just seeing it and understanding what's happening is also that a huge step in moving forward. So that when it happens again, you're recognizing it and you're not going to fall back as far as you might have if you were just not paying attention to all the steps and everything that you're doing and not being as intentional as you can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Well, the first part of Small Business Saturdays, we kind of already got into it here, which is great. But one of the things that showed up for us was the fact that what the habit or action or et cetera is not something that we can just copy from a neighbor, right? Like I can be inspired by whatever Becky's maybe working on or something like that. But what's right for me is right for me. And so we kind of talked about a little framework that I've built that for me to kind of say, okay, is this what I'm trying to create, this habit, this 30-minute block of time? Does this fit who I am, my strengths, values, and passions? And so what showed up for me was this acronym PATH, PATH, and the P, just kind of looking at what the thing is, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish, and what is the action I'm going to commit to in that 30-minute block. Is it purposeful? Right, it is what the P stands for. Does it actually align with what I'm attempting to do? And it doesn't have to be a direct, like point to point, like it's aligned. Like my goal is to grow my business. And so my thing has to be, whatever growing business activity, right? It could be, I need space to be able to have better conversations. And so I'm going to take some time and like do some research or something like that. So, but is it purposeful? Like ultimately, will it help get you to the goal that you have in front of you? So that's the P. The A part of it, kind of weighing it, going, okay, is this worth kind of putting this effort into and making commitment to? Is it action oriented? Right? And meaning we get stuck in the planning, in the thinking, in the right. Because even like kind of taking some time to, kind of a little me time type thing, right? That can be good, but is there some action, right? Like does it lead into something else? And then the T from the path is about tenacity. And I think this is the one that was the hardest for me. I know it's a challenge for Kylene, but basically just showing up every day, even on the hard days, even when nobody's watching.
Yep.
And then the H is habit, right? Something that you wind up doing without thinking about it. Right? So the last part is, can I take is today the day, or what should I do today? Any of those things that aren't really habit, where I have to be use my conscious to move forward. Right? We ultimately wanted to get it to like, okay, I wake up and I do this. I, have completed something on here, or I'm heading to get a bowl of ice cream. Before I do that, I'm going to do that. Right? Like that's a habit. Right? So I know I just threw a whole bunch of stuff at everybody there, but that's kind of the way we start off, saying, hey, look at those actions through that lens. So what does that say to you?
Chandler says she's going to need it on a whiteboard.
All right, we can do that. That's a good idea. Boom, Lion. And can you imagine me with a whiteboard behind me? My handwriting's terrible, but how crazy it would be. But anyhow.
I love a good whiteboard, though. The path framework to me is fantastic, because first it keeps you on task. It keeps you, thinking about what it is that you need. What action? That's where it leads to. I mean, you've got the purposeful part that you need to be thinking about that you're going to work on. It leads to the action. like you said, the tenacity, staying committed on those days when you just don't want to show up. I mean, boy, I tell you, I've had a few days this year that I could have stayed in the house all day and sat and watched TV.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
and as a small business owner, I have that right. I can do
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
But knowing what I need to do and understanding what I need to do definitely brings me out to my office.
Yeah.
And then habit building, setting those habits, stacking them, habit stacking so that,
Mm.
you know, okay, you check emails. What's next? What can you build? Okay, now that I've checked emails, I can do this. Or before I do this, I always have to do X. Stacking those habits together so that when one is automatic, the other one follows right along.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. That's a perfect way to explain that. So we need to get Becky the whiteboard. That's Chandler. Here we go. It's Becky needs the whiteboard. I'll do all the talking and she'll go, okay, this is what he's actually saying.
I was little, I thought I'd been a teacher, so
There you go.
good whiteboards.
Yeah. Hey, you guys have seen my office. I've got all my walls covered in whiteboards, so I do too. Okay, well, the next part that I wanted to kind of talk about here on Rising Tide Talks tonight, and again, you guys that are tuned in live, what are your thoughts on some of this stuff? Where's this? I know some of these concepts are kind of bigger picture a little bit, but I want to know practically, what does that mean for you? What is something that you could potentially do? We actually listed off 13 different things that came out of the fundamentals, the 13 different fundamentals in the book, some different things. And so we can go back to that list later here. But the second part of this, Becky, and I'm not going to give a whole bunch on this. I actually really want to hear your take on this, is this concept of being all in, right? Like grinding really hard, going all in versus being always in. What does that mean to you?
Well, being always in means that I don't ever shut anything off.
Okay.
I guess as a small business owner, that is something that I used to do. I used to work nights, I used to work weekends, I used to work just about any time. And I still will work those times when I need to. But I've also learned that if I continue to grind and do that, I'm losing a little bit of myself and everything else in between.
Yeah.
So, in order to work on the business as opposed to in the business, you know, that's where we need to get,
Yeah.
And for me, it's been definitely. This is why I love the co-working. It's focused.
Yeah.
It gets me a certain time frame, and I'm one of those that if you tell me I have 60 minutes to get ready, I'm going to use 59 and a half of them. So you could tell me I have 30 minutes. I could do the same amount of stuff in those 30 minutes that I could have done in 60 minutes because you told me I had so much time to do it.
That's right. Well, you know what, though? That's better. Kylene, you'll tell her 30 minutes and she'll use 35. So,
I that once in a while too, but that's also why Kevin tells me 30 because he knows he's got 60 and then I'll be ready on time. So we play that game. We call
I'm
that.
I'm not the only one that does it then. Okay. Yeah.
No, we call that the cuts or curves. So anytime we need to be somewhere, I back it up a good half hour of when I know I need to be. If I need to be there at 5, I'm saying 4:30 so that I actually get there on time.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, perfect.
I like to blame the kids, but I don't know that it's the kids so much.
No, who knows? And I always give Kylene a hard time about it. I'm sure I'm more of a culprit than she is, trying to do too many things in a small window of time. But
mine's always like, oh, I can do one more thing quick. I got time for this. And then that's usually what throws me. I shouldn't have started that project or shouldn't have went to find that thing or whatever it was that I thought I could do in that last 5 minutes. So
yeah. And I love what you said, because when you talked about, right, like, I think the real trick or maybe the real way to make this sustainable over time is to really find that balance, right? Like, and you can look at it either way, like all in and burning out, or always in, meaning just, I'm not thinking about it. It is a consistent rhythm, or, the other way, right? Like, so doesn't matter which way. The idea here for me was, how do I kind of build that balance where it doesn't feel like I have to do anything, right? If it's just 30 minutes and it's that kind of thing. I've found for me personally, when I do get that balance where it just feels a little bit more effortless as opposed to a constant grind. Um, in that space, I'm more clear about where I'm heading. I have more belief in myself, and I guess it's just kind of fulfilling, right? Like, yeah, cool. So that was kind of the mindset side of it there for sure. Any other thoughts on that, Becky?
No, I think you summed up what I was trying to say probably a
Yep.
little better than I did, but
We're taking turns. So
there you go.
um, yeah. And so Chandler says, yeah, mine is 45 minutes before I actually have to be there. I love it.
The
So,
mind games we play.
yeah.
Irina.
Irina, good to see you. And yeah, a little bit of replay, but you can catch the rest here with us, Rena. So, Rena, what we're talking about is this idea of, so this is the final fundamental of the fundamental formula kind of section there, commitment and growth. And we're talking about like building a 30-minute a day habit, activity that is purposeful, action oriented, allows for tenacity because it's aligned with your values, and habit forming in a good way, right? So I always hear the word habit forming, and I think of all the the bad stuff, the nicotine or et cetera. Habit forming works the same way with good stuff. We just don't focus on that enough. Yeah, Chandler says, I feel like I need the grind. I work so much better under pressure.
But see, Chandler, this is where I think that having the co-working time and that set amount of time, the 30-minute block, gives you that feel of pressure and being under pressure
Yeah.
instead of having to grind all the time.
Yeah.
I guess is how I look at it. I mean, that's what I mean, I've really been trying to, and I haven't done now for a while. I haven't had my end of the day timer on. But if I set that end of day timer, I know when I walk in the office, I have X amount of time till that timer goes off. There's my pressure. I've put it on myself at that point to get things done. And that's what the co-working time for me does, because it's like, okay, I'm setting this amount of time aside. I'm going to get it done. It keeps you focused. And I think having that make it feel like you're under pressure as opposed to being under pressure.
Yeah.
Takes some of that away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I think that's, it's finding that balance, right? But I love the fact that this is what these conversations to me are so valuable, because I could sit here and go, okay, well, Becky's doing it this way. I'm looking at her. She's really successful. And so I have to do exactly what Becky does. And then I'm going, man, it's not working for me. What the heck? I must be terrible. I'm going to beat myself up because Becky's making it work, but I can't make it work. So, and then you just keep kind of going deep down in this rut, right? But when we go, okay, I know how I work. I know who I'm all about. Chandler's like, I work so much better under pressure. I'm definitely that type of person too, where the tighter the deadline, the more focused I seem to get, right? And but there is that balance to it, right? If I constantly am doing that, I am going to burn out and wear out, and then I take these big long breaks that again make me feel like I'm going down in a rut. And so I think what I love about these conversations is I can take total inspiration from what you're saying and go, okay, Becky's doing great. She's very inspiring. What can I take out of that that's going to work for me if I'm willing to be honest with myself? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, this is the best part about your book and the fundamentals of business success is the fact that it's not a cookie cutter. Yeah. It's not having everybody do exactly the same thing. All of those fundamentals are set to work for you and your business.
Yeah.
How you interpret and use those fundamentals compared to how I use them, or Chandler uses them, or Rena, or anybody else. Everybody has a different way. We're all achieving the same steps.
Yep.
But everybody has a little bit different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I think I love the conversations too, because it's like, what is everybody else doing? What can I learn from them that might help me?
Yeah.
And I might try something that Chandler's doing or Arena's doing. Yeah. And if it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Or I find a way of what they're doing to adjust and make it work. I mean, we talk about Trello and Asana and Monday.com and all that stuff. Those are all exactly the same thing.
Yep.
All laid out in a little bit different format, but what works for one and works for me doesn't work for you. You didn't like Trello. I'm loving Trello.
Yeah, absolutely.
actually, that's on my to-do list, is to set up my next board for my graduation stuff, so that
Great.
I didn't keep it from the last graduation 4 years ago, but I'd like to have some notes going forward. So if
There you
I
go.
set up my graduation board so that I can have everything that I know I need to do, like I need to go get stuff ordered, I need to
Yeah.
have food, I need to have, so all the checklists, and then it just keeps it, keeps it very nice and tidy for myself.
Yeah.
So, but there
Absolutely.
again, that's not something the Trello board just doesn't work right for you.
Yeah.
I know even Sandy said it wasn't working for her. She went back to Asana.
Yep. Yeah. No,
There's
you're exactly right.
lists, all sorts of different ways to do it. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you said something in the middle of that really stood out to me is like, yeah, I can go, oh, that's working for Becky. I'm going to try it. But I think that the big shift is you go, well, but if it's not working for me, it doesn't mean that I'm any less or that I'm not smart enough to figure it out or whatever it is that those stories that our inner critics telling us, we're letting go of that and saying, well, it's just not who I am. Right. I'm willing to say, yeah, great. Trello looks great, but to me, the way it's organized just doesn't work with my brain. Does that make me any less of a person? No, not at all. And so I can take that and utilize it, make it work for me, and figure out what does work. And so I think I'm been on this really big kick lately of just trying to be really clear about the fact that if you're ever looking at something as prescriptive, like you have to do this, otherwise you're going to fail, then I might rethink that advice. You might still be getting the exact same advice from the exact same person. And if you're looking at that as inspiration, now it's going to be worth something to you. So, yeah, I think this is a really great conversation. In fact, let's see here. We had a bunch of comments roll in that I didn't get to. Rena says, definitely need more productive habits. Chandler says, honestly, I don't even know how successful anyone is. And we never talk about money, but in the conversations and learning from everybody. Right. Yeah. And that is honestly one thing I've really enjoyed about getting to work more with Chandler too, because she is not a decorator like a lot of us. Right. And she actually runs a nonprofit, which, we just went through this whole pricing thing. And she was part of that. And like, how do you price a nonprofit? But the fundamentals are still the same, right? It's just which way you look at it and utilize
there's
it.
still pricing there. It's just not in the traditional pricing for how we as decorators are looking at it.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. But yeah, exactly. It is still pricing. So,
yep.
She says, I love this group so much. Right back at you, Chandler. Love hearing how something might work better for me, or at least try a new thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. I think that to me is like the epitome of inspiration right there. I love hearing how something might work for me. Not that, well, I can't figure out how to make Trello something that I use every day.
Well,
Okay.
or somebody coming in and saying, you have to do it this way. This is the only way to do it. This is the only way it's going to work to grow your business. This is the only thing that, my way or the highway, I guess, is how I think of it.
I like that.
Like, I guess I'm going to go off on the dirt road because
Yeah.
I'm very good on the highway.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the fundamentals, because we can all take the same. I mean, we're all using them. It all just looks slightly different for each one of us. So
Totally. Well, so the other part here to throw into the mix is a lot of times that it's not necessarily somebody else giving, telling you these things. It's really that inner story, right? That inner critic. And I've also found that like when maybe I'm trying to get that new habit going and I'm struggling a little bit, or you got the critic saying these different things, that trying to battle that has not really worked for me. What I found is I just feed so much the other way that it kind of drowns out the noise till the inner critic goes away, right? Like you kind of ignore it. It's kind of like that, that sometimes when, you've got kids, Becky, you understand this. Every once in a while, you just got to let them get their whininess out, right? Or their annoyingness out and go, okay, great. I'm just going to be super positive, and when you're done being a grump, we'll get back on target. Right? I've got a teenager, so. But so what I found is a couple of questions here that just going, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm not worthy of all those things are happening. I just go, okay, what lights me up? What do I love doing? What gives me more energy? Right. And then just going, okay, well, what's one thing I get to do today? And honestly, most of the time that's just a reframe of something that I'm quote unquote dreading. But if I change it and say, what do I get to do today? Because I know where it's going to take me,
Yep.
that, so those three kind of questions that showed up for me. What are your thoughts on that, kind of drowning out that inner critic?
For sure, because like leaning into the things that make it fun make life go a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Like the last 2 days I've gotten to play with the designs. I've knocked out 3 4, I don't know how many designs in the last couple of days. And
Nice.
I was working with Julie on one of hers, and just to hear her come back with the positive, these are amazing. It's all that feedback that you're looking for, that positive feedback that you're looking for. And that just kind of keeps for me, keeps the momentum going, leads into the next one. Like I get this vision in my head, and then it's like, how do I make it come out? And
Yeah.
I will not lie, ChatGPT has been helping a little bit, because I
Sure.
can ask it to give me ideas. Tell me what a logo could look like. I mean, ChatGPT will also build it, but sometimes it's just having an external source, whether it be somebody else or ChatGPT or something like that, that can give you the ideas to like, oh yes, now I know what I want. Like I have the vision in my head, but sometimes I can't always see the vision. I just know I know there's something I want, but I don't know what it is until I see it. How's that?
Until you see it. Yeah.
Or build it type of thing. And so it's it's kind of weird that way, but yes, having I got lost on my train of thought here, but
That's okay.
where were we going?
Oh yeah, just kind of the drowning out the inner critic with leaning into the positives and the things that you love doing, having fun.
Having fun, and that's leaning into the positives. To me, goes right back to our MOS community and a mastermind, because that is where we get our support and the community that we need in order to keep that positive mindset going. And when you're having a bad day, and somebody else can see something and say something, and it'll bring you right out of it. So
Yeah. Yep, that is perfect. That's perfect. Okay, how are we doing on time here? And any other? Oh, Sandy's got a comment. I always believe there's more to learn, and hearing how others make it work for them helps me learn. So, love that. That's great, Sandy. Thank you. You got a couple more minutes here, Becky? You good?
Yeah. Rena said, do you take the high road or the low road on the highway?
Depends on the person, Rena, and how sassy I'm feeling.
Mine's
For
the
me.
dirt road, so
Yeah, yours is the dirt road. I got it. Yeah, I missed that. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. What others?
singing says it's like we are each other's coworkers, and I think that's fantastic. That's a great way to look at it, and that's why I think the co-working time works, because okay, what's everybody working on? And if we have, I know this last time when we did it, everybody kind of just went their separate ways and worked on stuff. But I believe, in the past we've had it where, okay, I'm stuck on this, and we start having a conversation, like as if we were sitting in an office together.
Yeah,
and that's what we're there for.
absolutely. So, all right. So the last bit that I wanted to kind of, and we can go back and talk about kind of some of the actions too, if we want to, but last little bit that I had from Small Business Saturday that I'd love to get your take on is, sometimes when we're trying to build a habit, understanding what our strengths, values, and passions are, but really our strengths and what some people might consider kind of weaknesses, like our lower strengths, understanding those can also really make a difference. So, for example, in Small Business Saturday, both Kylene and I were talking about how building habits for ourselves are a little bit different, even though actually, funny enough, we both have two similar kind of lower strengths: self-regulation and perseverance. But the way I kind of experience those, right? Like if I'm out of alignment or I'm trying to create a habit that just isn't kind of in alignment, I always kind of start off things with a ton of fire. But then when the novelty starts to wear off, I just kind of duck away. I get distracted. You guys know this by all of the other great ideas and opportunities. I love, being able to kind of lead others into these ideas. but I know I'll be honest and transparent. I don't always do a great job of continuing on myself, right? I'm looking for the next thing that I can put together to try to help people, that type of thing. And so, for me, what works better is having tools that resonate with me, right? Asana has been great because for whatever reason, that the way that it looks and feels, and when I see that list shrink when I check the thing off and it goes away, like that just is a big thing for me. Timers, public calendars. When I wrote the book, telling everybody about when it was going to get done, these, and building that habit off of that. So I think understanding a little bit about ourselves is really crucial too. So what are your thoughts on that, Becky?
Yeah, I definitely need a checklist because sometimes I'll put things on the list so I can check it off. Just so I can feel like I checked it off, because that's the momentum that I need to see, that visual to say check mark,
Yeah.
it's done, or move it up on the list, and or oh, I got sidetracked, did something else, it went on the list, now I have to check it off because I got it done. It's whatever is going to keep you moving forward. And I would think that, I believe, and I don't know that the self-regulation and perseverance showed up in my stuff, but I feel like it resonates with me. So I truly believe that too, where, I can get going on things and have the gung ho and fire to get stuff done. And then it slowly wanes off. And then it's like, there's something brighter and shinier that's way more fun. And we're going to do that. So
Marina says, I even put vacuuming on my list, right? Yep, absolutely. And then it sounds like we can all probably raise our hand for this, but I don't know about you, Becky, but you get something done and you realize it's not on your list. So you take the time to put it on your list so you can mark it off. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sure. So I was giggling a little bit there while you're talking because I do happen to have your report pulled up just to do you want to know what your bottom two are?
Sure.
Perseverance and self-regulation.
See, I figured that was close. I don't remember looking at those bottom two, but
yeah.
Created on the top half, so that's why I don't remember seeing them. But
yeah, and so this is the stuff that I love and totally get into and geek out, right? Being able to kind of work with people and look at this stuff, because what I've noticed just from kind of looking at, like I said, I've got Becky's report up here, and I, based on what I know about Becky through that report and just knowing about her, right? You're probably going to be out of alignment when you don't stick to that routine perfectly. You might judge yourself harshly for missing a day or falling behind. Is any resonating? You might feel if it feels too rigid and lacks any kind of relational connection, meaning that it might fall flat.
Mm-hmm.
That was all. Okay. Just making sure we're still getting the head shaking going.
We're hitting targets.
All right. So, when you flip that script though and go, okay, well, what are your strengths, right? And from this particular profile, your top two is love of learning and kindness. I think everybody can point those things out, right? For sure, kindness. But just to kind of give you some examples here, creating habit out of helping others, incorporating active kindness, right? So the co-working thing's a perfect example of that. I think, being the leader, showing the kindness and being there to, pick people up. Gratitude, aligning your habits around that gratefulness. And you also are high in the leadership strength. So you're going to be probably a lot like me, where when you're kind of leading and coordinating and putting things together, that also helps you build stronger habits. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yep. Now, like I said, that's something that I love to do. So if you guys have not done an SVP session with me, it's not some weird, crazy, like wild SVP, just an acronym that stands for strengths, values, and passions. So the session isn't like, we don't, go all woo woo or anything crazy like that. Really just a conversation about what your strengths are and how they show up in your daily life, what your values are and how they show up in your daily life, what your passions are and how you're drawn to those things. And then going, okay, Now, what's currently happening with your business, what possibly could be out of alignment, like Becky, you were talking about before. I don't think there is a one size fits all formula. And if you're trying to find that, that's where you struggle. So what could be out of alignment, and kind of going, how could we maybe use your strengths, use your passions to make more motivation? And yeah,
And
start.
anybody that hasn't done the SVP, it's you've got the link, I think, somewhere here, but there's a little bit of a survey
Yep.
questions to answer. And then from there, it builds this report that you would review with Aaron. And that's what he's looking at my report for what shows up for how these questions get answered.
Yeah.
They're not hard questions. It's all easy. It's a very painless process, but it's really super fun to see the results. So
Yeah. And for those of you that are interested in just kind of understanding a little bit more about your strengths, I've landed on. So I've tried a lot of different kind of strengths finders, but this one that I've landed on, it just so hits the nail on the head. I've yet to come across. So I've done this with probably 20, 30 people at this point with this particular assessment. I've yet to have somebody go, no, that's not really me. Everybody's gone like, oh my gosh, how are they in my head? So anyhow, if you just wanted to take that assessment just to know your strengths, but again, I'm happy to talk to you about them too. So I'll just put that link in the chat there for everybody if you want to go do that and then go from there. So, all right, let's see here. What have we missed here, Becky? Anything that we've missed on this whole concept of kind of growth, building habits, finding who you are to build the habit that's going to allow you to stack that and be successful with it?
I think the biggest thing, and if you get any takeaway from this, is to understand that everybody's unique. So your journey is going to be your journey and nobody else's. And that again falls right into line with the fundamentals because they're working for you and not you trying to work somebody else's system. That, I'm not trying to run Chandler's way in my business because it's not going to work that way. So just remember that you're unique and go from there.
Love it. That is 100%. I agree with that 100%. What about you guys in the chat? What are we missing? What do you need practically to put this concept into use for you? So
I did see that Rena said something about that she loved the idea of co-working. This is something that we've done in the MOS group, but maybe it's something that we should put in our Entrepreneur Success Hub and see if anybody wants to do that. So maybe I will chat with a couple people and we'll set up a time and actually run it in the group and see if anybody wants to utilize it there.
Okay.
If that's works.
Yep. I'm totally cool with that. So
if you are, let me know. Reach out. Please reach out to me and let me know, because the more people that reach out, I can better, find a time that's going to work for us and we can go from there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Rising tide lifts all boats. So I got to make sure I get the wording right. I look right below you there. It takes a village to run a business.
Yeah.
Okay. Chandler says, oh man, could you imagine that Freaky Friday? I'd probably have ink everywhere. Okay. I'm missing something there.
Something too. I'm not sure what she's talking about.
I just saw Freaky Friday and I was like, Chandler's hilarious. So I'll go, but I definitely missed something right over my head.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. Well, I guess the one last thing I wanted to do was, as I mentioned on Small Business Saturday, but I would encourage you guys to just head over to Live OSG. Becky helped remind me that I didn't get it into the list. So it is in the list this last Saturday's episode. We did go and run through just taking the fundamentals from Empower Yourself all the way to Marginal Gains and saying, here's some ideas, here's some inspiration for you to, what could you be starting to do that might work for you, right? And so just to give you a couple quick highlights here, one area was kind of working on job descriptions. So fundamental number 5 is our relationships, whether that's employees or the other people around us, but working on kind of building out job descriptions so you have much more clarity on what your role is, because even as a solopreneur, right, like what do you love doing each day, and what do we need to outsource, and that kind of thing. So yeah, so that was one. And then I just saw
Chandler cleared it up because she says, "You already know, Becky." She said, when Becky said she doesn't run my business and I don't run hers, that she would have
oh,
the freaky
now I get Freaky Fridays.
switching
Yes.
spot. I know. It's
The movie. I missed the movie reference. I'm
a
sorry.
small headache that's in the back of my eye here that's
All right. Well,
stopping the brain from functioning. Sorry,
um,
Chandler. I got it now.
yeah, perfect. Yep. So like fundamental number 9 is conquer fear. And so one of the ideas there was what's a project that's outside of your comfort zone, and spend 30 minutes a day taking the tiniest actions you can bring yourself to take on that project outside of your comfort zone. And you keep building on top of those each and every day. So a couple of highlights there. Fundamental number 2 is clarify your reason. And so the idea was use 30 minutes a day, maybe do this for a couple weeks, a month, or something like that, where you're figuring out new and creative ways to share your reason with others, right? So whether that's through your marketing message, whether that's through, networking events, when people say, well, what do you do? If you share your reason there, as opposed to I make t-shirts or I have a nonprofit, then people actually connect with your reason, not the thing that you do with your reason. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on that, Becky?
Nope. It just made me think of something else that I wrote down for later, though.
I love it. All right. Well, I think we've done an awesome job once again. We definitely want Kylene back, but I feel like we did a pretty good job without her the last couple of weeks. So
Not doing too bad.
we're not doing too bad. We still want you back, though, Kylene.
Yep.
So.
Well, we can't do gratitude. We didn't do very good with the gratitude session last week. We need her to get us.
I think I just forgot altogether, and then we came back to for sure. We need her for that, and a lot of other things. And then I don't know for sure. We haven't fully talked about it, so I'm kind of talking about this on air. But there's a chance we might not be able to do next week. I don't know what your schedule is and Kylene's schedule is, but I'm not going to be available next Wednesday. So maybe you guys do it.
Is teaching again next week, so we might have one break week.
Yeah, we might just have one break, and then we'll figure it out. But so just giving you guys a little program note just to stay tuned, so you're not missing us. If for whatever reason, we'll put a post into the group too if that's what ends up happening. I think Kylene's going to find out after her class tonight kind of what the deal is going forward. So, and then we'll talk about it. But no week would be complete without Rising Tide Talks. So.
No, it's kind of become a staple.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. I love every second of it. All right, Becky. Well, this has been a blast. Let's do it again soon. And thanks everybody for all of the comments and jumping in. And Rising Tide does truly lift all boats. So make sure that you are engaging in the comments. You're being active, because that's how you get into the tide.
She wants a Chandler show.
Ooh. That actually did pop into my brain today, Becky, by the way. So maybe a guest host or something.
Guest host. We might have to think about that.
Interesting.
All right.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Good week.
Bye.